let's first talk about what is financial wellness and what's a financial wellness benefit. I think it would be helpful for us to define what that is. It's obviously a buzzword right now and a hot topic in both the benefits world and in the financial world these days. But employee assistance programs have been around for a long time. So the concept isn't entirely new, but to a certain extent, the primary focus on finances is. So how do we define a financial wellness benefit? We say that is a company-sponsored benefit that's designed to help employees gain control and confidence in their finances and all of the positive benefits that come from that happening, which we're going to take a look at. What we're seeing in the marketplace now is a lot of companies that are getting in there. There's no legal standard to be able to call yourself a financial wellness offering. Some are just education, some are standalone technology-based solutions. Also, traditional EAP organizations are scrambling to bolster their offerings. That's what we've seen, a lot of that, right?
Hi everyone, this is Jim Hiles. You know, it's funny, there's a lot of chatter out there on financial wellness, and let me give you an indication for what it's not. And this is kind of where we're seeing it. And a lot of you who have 401k plans or involved in various degrees with your 401k plan have heard financial wellness by your 401k provider. And in fact, they are providing a part of financial wellness, but maybe focusing on the retirement benefit side. But financial wellness is significantly more than a 401 education session that you might have. As good as they may be, there is more to financial wellness than the 401k plan. A necessary component, yes, but certainly just a component of the overall strategy. And now, Jim, we've gone back and forth on this in terms of researching the marketplace. And we've also found that there are folks out there who are using this as a marketing strategy, right?
Right. And they use it as a product. They have an end game in mind, right, from the get-go, which is a product sale.
Right.
And we've definitely determined that we don't think that that's a true financial wellness offering.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, I think the desired financial wellness program is one where it's scalable across your employee group, where you've got good cost component to it, of course. But it's an experience, it's educational based on something that's formatted, that's easy to use, that addresses the employee's problem. It's not the library, right? You're not going to drive by the library and say, go in there and read everything and let me know what you think. So it should be something which is not just a strategy to sell something.
And not just a website, as you were saying, right? It's not just a Google or a curated Google where it's tons of information, but doesn't really point towards modifying behavior.
Right. And I think that's kind of the key here. But if you look at the goal, I think this is the goal that we've gleaned from doing the research, particularly in the human resources area, overlapping with financial planning. It's financial wellness is used to attract and retain employees. I was speaking with the CEO of a company, and I explained this benefit to him. He goes, that's a neat thing. That might have made the difference between us hiring a person or not, by having this benefit as one of the benefits as the offering. And we look at the spoke of human resources and what we're offering as benefits, and that seemed to be a missing thing. So it was good feedback from somebody already saying, hey, yeah, I might use this to help attract and retain employees. Certainly decreasing absenteeism and increasing productivity are almost the same thing, right, Jim? I mean,
two sides, right?
You want to get people to go to work and have them be productive. And of course, we want people to be at work and be productive. So, we all have stories, I'm sure, or have heard of our families, even people that you may know, or maybe even you, or you've had scenarios where you've had to deal with family issues. And it's not like you're doing your best work when you're worrying about whether or not you can afford a certain thing, or if you're talking about taking care of your parents, or it's a medical situation or a death, you're worried about that first. And you're not going to be working perhaps as hard as you should that given day. So productivity is kind of one of the main things we're trying to do here. So why don't you speak to the next one here?
Right. So obviously helping employees retire on time, that's another for especially the baby boom generation. That's something that is top of mind for a lot of those people. We'll see more about that later, the research done there. For employers, reducing healthcare expenses over time ties right in. Obviously, that's a major expense for pretty much everybody on this call. And also on the shorter term, we do see some evidence that it does raise workplace morale, which goes hand in hand with people who are less stressed in your workforce, right?
Yeah, and I think that's these are hard to measure. I mean, I get to ask this question a lot, like, what's my ROI on my investment for financial wellness? And we have to address the question, and the folks sitting in the financial offices are going to say, give me the answer. And it's not necessarily a hard number you can point to. It's not we're saving X amount of fees. It's sort of a soft number that you can have an impact in the workforce. But measuring morale in the workplace is kind of difficult to do on a numeric scale.
Right. There is some faith involved. Right.
I'll set up this slide because there's a lot going on here, but we're actually seeing, based on our research, that there are different financial concerns by generation within your workforce. So if you just break it down to the three here, millennials, Gen X's, and baby boomers, as putting their top financial concerns by generation, and then we listed out a number of concerns done through various surveys that were completed by research companies about what's most important, what are the biggest concerns. And there's some slight differences depending on what the age group is. But if you look at this, the number one across all three was not having enough emergency savings for unexpected expenses. So quite different than whether or not I should fund my growth plan in my 401k. It has nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, that's a today issue. And when you talk to people about getting people involved, even within their 401k, maybe this is one of those things we can learn from by addressing the issues at hand today.
Right. So we look at the baby boomers, which is the group most that's closest to retirement age, are the most concerned about not being able to retire on time, while the millennial group is most concerned about much shorter term needs, like meeting their monthly bills and having emergency funds. Yeah. So it's not necessarily what the industry has been telling everyone they should be focusing on.
Right.
It's not the way to reduce stress and improve wellness.
Yeah, if you go into like this credit card debt is a good area to go into, and you can see that this is again looking at those three major groups, baby boomers, Gen X's, and millennials, over some period of time, talking about what the issues are within credit card debt, which Jim, you can speak to that a little bit better than me at this point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is showing us 42% of Gen Xers are finding it difficult to make their minimum payment on time each month, and the numbers are pretty high for the other two groups as well. And more than 1/3 of employees are using credit cards for monthly necessities that they couldn't otherwise afford. So that's not investment planning, that's not financial planning, that's the house is on fire type financial relief, right?
I'll put my fireman's hat on, Jim, and go in here and save the day. But so what does that mean in a financial wellness program? You have to address things like debt management and credit card management and refinancing of debt and things like that. So these are top of mind issues that are creating financial stress in the workplace.
Right. We saw numbers 2 to 2.5 million people ask for help from credit card counselors each year to avoid bankruptcy. So there are much bigger issues out there than what the industry has been addressing up till now.
All right. So credit card debt, put a check on that.
Student loan debt, another big concern. A bigger concern.
Yeah, this one, having kids in college in particular, I feel this one. But again, a similar type of graphic in terms of the student debt is now over $1.5 trillion. People are using money to leverage their way to get an education. And by the way, it pays off still, folks. So we did a little piece on educational funding a little while back, and it still makes sense to go to college, to pay for school. Unfortunately, the cost of schools are going up so dramatically that we're borrowing a lot more than we used to borrow.
Right, and in some cases, a wellness plan can educate people and maybe steer them away from taking on too much student loan debt if they haven't done it already. But if they have, a good financial wellness offering will help reduce some of the stress that people have because they have it, right? So we want to help people navigate through that issue. And if it isn't dealt with in the long run, it will definitely have an impact on these people, whether they can buy a home, and ultimately whether they'll be able to retire on time. So it's a kind of a domino effect that starts at right after college.
Well, it's a heck of a lot easier to get in debt than out of debt. And you're talking about student loans. There is a whole industry that's being created right now about refinancing student loans and which provider to use and how to refinance it and should you refinance it. So it's going to be a needed requirement for any financial wellness program.
Absolutely, right. So retirement plans and withdrawals from retirement plans, we've seen that they're increasing, largely driven by student debt, medical bills, caring for parents or in-laws, and other unexpected expenses. 30% of all employees have already withdrawn money from a retirement fund. 1 in 4 employees is not currently saving for retirement at all. And 52% of baby boomers are postponing retirement.
You got to think about this for a second. So we're taking money out of retirement plans, our future. We're funding our future, and now we're taking money out of the future to pay for our current needs. So something's wrong here. Even though we've got great providers of retirement resources and services, we're taking it out anyway. So how do you deal with that? And if you look at that list of student debt, medical, and caring for parents, unexpected expenses, I mean, that's right down the middle of financial wellness. And retirement may or may not be the thing to sacrifice. And that's kind of goes back into the financial planning world. You need to look at yourself maybe differently than taking money from someplace to pay for something else. And sometimes that takes a little planning in advance.
Absolutely. So if you're not stressed out, then maybe you haven't been paying attention. So specifically, what is financial wellness, right? We're seeing big numbers of people who are admitting and acknowledging that they're stressed about finances. It's been very well documented that stress is a top cause of poor health and what we've talked about, absenteeism, low productivity, the list goes on. So it's also been very well studied and proven that if stress is a top cause of all these things, finances are one of the top causes of stress across the board. So, we've got record levels of debt, which we just looked at, mortgage, credit cards, student loans. Combine that with poor financial education and people who are covered by a pension plan at work, and not to mention the constant stress that we see in the news about Social Security and Medicare are at risk. Financial stress is absolutely real. So it's definitely something that we need to deal with. Okay,
now that we've taken you down to a completely depressed state, it's not the end of the world though either. I mean, there's a way out, and that the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train. I mean, there are challenges for sure. However, there are solutions, and there are probably some better techniques to think about in our own financial lives. But we can handle this. This is something that we're seeing based on the advent of new technologies, the advent of the way that individuals are looking at human resources and benefits from their own companies, but also the fact that costs are going down and the demographics of the country are creating this wave of need. So we're going to see some opportunities to take advantage of here in financial wellness.
Sure. So we can, we've talked about productivity and decreases there. Let's talk about financial wellness benefits and what some of the numbers look like there. So what are some of the studies that we've looked at, Jim? What are we seeing?
And we've been researching this for probably 3 years now, and Pricewaterhouse has done a number of surveys on this, and so has Aon Hewitt. And if you look at any Sharm Journal or whatever, you're going to find probably a lot of the same kind of thing, that corporations, companies, even groups, even associations that have members are looking for opportunities to help in financial literacy, improve financial wellness overall. And 14%, as you can see here, of employers have a budget that they've already dedicated, but a lot more are looking for answers as to how to take advantage of what's out there and how to spend money wisely as it relates to the growing trend of providing financial wellness benefits to the employee group. And you can see that 75% of the companies are very likely to expand. And obviously people are on this call because they want to know more about it as well. So I think it bodes well for itself as a benefit, because that's where the opportunities lie.
Okay, so why doesn't everyone have one of these? What are companies saying about why they don't offer one yet? And it's funny because the smallest percentage we see up here is that employees aren't interested. So that's not what most people are saying. They don't believe. They believe that their employees are interested, and employers themselves are interested. Leadership support is not one of the bigger issues. We get into the larger issues, which are lack of internal resources. Maybe it's not a priority in their business agenda for the year. But the funny thing is, they don't know where to start or how to start in this. So
it's gotten more complicated too, and because it's changing every day. It used to be a little cottage industry, and now it's a full-blown race to something to be the provider in financial wellness. So what we're seeing now is kind of a second wave of financial wellness coming through, which I think we now know where to start. I think maybe a couple of years ago we didn't know where to start. So I think there's opportunity out there to move forward here. So hopefully, if you look at that last one, 31% don't know how or don't know where to start. We're going to be addressing some of those issues now.
Right. So as I said earlier, we're seeing it's a crowded field. If this is any indication, they must work to some extent. There's a lot of players out there, and there seem to be more coming into the market every day. So it's important to be able to determine what partner, who does what, and how you would work with them to eventually be able to come up with a game plan for your own company. And is it a standalone offering? Is it a strategy that's going to wind up sending employees to a particular product or service? Is it purely technology? These are the kind of things, is there coaching available? Is there phone support? These are the kind of things you want to know and understand before you commit to any plan.
Yeah, we've probably looked at, this is just a small portion of the list. These are some of maybe the more, I don't know if you can call more popular names, but in looking through this, there are so many different pricing models too, right, Jim? You've seen some pricing out as, and this is, we're giving this information, so if you call these, you'll kind of know what to expect. Some of them price it out on a flat fee basis and then charge you a per dollar per person per head kind of thing.
Right.
And some of them will come in with a project idea. Well, they'll want to do a research project of your company and your benefits and what you're trying to provide. And it's a flat $25,000 fee to just do the research project. So they're all a little different in terms of what they're trying to do in terms of assess what you need and then the benefits provided. And I think what we've determined, and even in our professional experience, is everybody's a little different in terms of the benefit provider,
right.
And everybody's a little different in terms of the benefit buyer. So you probably should start at an assessment, and through our research, that's the best place to start, is what do you need and what should it look like and what kind of benefit expectation do I want out of this, and how many people do I think would play ball in this kind of thing, and should I even offer it? If I were to offer it, what's my budget to offer it? So there's an assessment that you almost need to go through, not almost, you should go through first,
right? That
we actually offer as part of our Greenleaf service, to sit down and go through an assessment of your employee benefit plan, get a feel for your population, get a feel for things like participation in the 401k plan and demographics of the employee group and compensation levels and what they do in terms of other benefits for different people, and whether or not they're even computer savvy or in different ways. I mean, some people would like to have it on their phone instead of on a sit-down computer because they're not at a sit-down computer when they're doing it.
Right, more, I think the percentages are much over 50%, somewhere around 70% of tech users use their phone as their primary tech delivery source, right? So,
and some of these providers are good at mobile and some aren't.
Some aren't, right, and some are better on the telephone and some aren't. So it's kind of right, as you said, you got to go through the process of kind of what your needs are, assess your needs, and then start to build a platform from there. Because some of these companies offer everything, and obviously you got to tell them which ones you're interested in, which ones won't work for you.
Right. This is I think where everybody started in financial wellness. I call this financial wellness, 1.0. Financial wellness 1.0 was, and you see these, you go out to you Google it, you can find a gazillion content providers, right? But you're going to get a website and you're going to get content, and you're going to have different kinds of content and levels of contents, videos, audios, reading material, and so on. And matter of fact, you don't even need to do that. You can just go to Google and ask questions. You could probably get to the same thing, right? So what we're finding in Financial Wellness 1.0 is a compilation of educational material devoted and organized well.
Right.
Right?
Right. It's like they're a curator.
Yeah, right.
They're pulling in content, they're pulling in resources. But at the end of the day, it needs to be engaging or people just won't use it.
So if you think that's what you need for your employee group, and that may be all you need, then that would be determined by the assessment that you need a content library of sorts with it easy to sign in and good experience in terms of financial wellness and education. But that key word right there, Jim, engagement, is the key, isn't it?
Right, for sure. And some of the other issues, well, obviously the big question here is, do they work, right? They've been around for a short period of time, and our answer to that is basically you really have to view them as a long-term investment. It's not going to be an overnight result for your company. As far as we are seeing companies are reporting success. We're starting to see companies that have had these for a while coming back, and what they're reporting is that employees who use the program regularly are self-reporting that their levels of stress have gone down. And so that's we can see that through the reporting dashboards, right? We can see that if people are using it on a regular basis and then they're telling us that their financial stress is going down because they're meeting certain financial goals they set out for themselves, then that's a good thing, and we can say that that's working. But as we've said, behavior change is key, and how do we affect behavior change? So that then we start getting into more about financial wellness 2.0, right? So it's funny, people probably recognize most of these icons up here, but if you look at how technology has already started to create engagement for companies that use it the right way and change behavior, right? Look at them. Jim, you get a lot of thumbs up, don't you, on Facebook?
Oh yeah, I'm a Facebook junkie, man. I get thumbs up all the time. I have to check it first thing in the morning. If I get a thumbs down, I can't make it to the day.
I think they took that out. I don't think they have that.
No more thumbs down.
But obviously, making it engaging and making people, people are counting their steps, right, because of technology. So that's engaging. That's good technology, right? We have Waze up there. People are reporting traffic jams and car accidents. So they're doing that because somehow that technology has engaged them. I threw S&H green stamps up here because that was an early example, at least in my life, of where my mom would go for gas or groceries, right? If they gave S&H green stamps, that was how that company was engaging, that they were kind of gamifying going for gas or groceries or whatever else gave out green stamps. So if they had that sign up there, you were more likely to go there, right? Monopoly, McDonald's reports a dramatic increase in sales every year. They run their Monopoly challenge. So that's your good excuse to go out and get a Big Mac.
You're going to have to explain what a stamp is to anyone under the age of 40.
Right. I realize I'm dating myself, but I remember them from when I was a kid.
Yeah, but I think that there is a lot to be said about that, and it is happening in today's culture about getting feedback on how you're doing, and we think, and the people who have studied this, and one of the main places that have studied financial wellness is Duke University, and there's an individual there, Airley is his name, and he's done a lot of work in behavioral finance and what it takes to have people change, and what it takes. It's not necessarily motivation as much as it is, they call it coaching, I call it as you have it here in terms of engagement, this constant reminders of what you need to be doing. And if it's showing up on your phone and on your calendar and you're getting a text, you're getting an email, you know what, there's a higher likelihood you're going to pay attention to it and then go do it.
Right, as opposed to reading an article or watching a video and then going about your day, right?
Yeah.
Without any kind of engagement, commitment made from either party, right?
Yeah, so if you look at the different ways to engage, ideally your financial wellness program, we think if you're looking to maximize the engagement experience, should probably have all of these, right? You should have different ways, because different people communicate in different ways to begin with, and you may not even address, even in your own world, these things together in the same way. So whether it's chat or text or phone or email. Now, let me break that down, because we have seen generational changes here too, where some folks, they want to get on the phone and talk to someone. They want to actually talk and talk about their experience and hear and listen and feel empathy. And some folks are like, no, I just want to know the answer. Just tell me the answer in a chat. I don't want to be bothered. I'll hang up and I'm ready to hang up, and I'll continue on when I need to go on.
Right.
So it kind of depends on how the individual wants to engage, but you should have all different ways of engagement here.
Right.
And if you look at the proactive versus reactive, the engagement being proactive, in other words, you're getting communicated with that, hey, Jim, I saw that you didn't complete something and you're not going to hit your goal if you don't do this. How about we do this together? Email is a nice email to get. So, I better do that. You're competing against yourself, too. It's not like it's your boss telling you. It's yourself. It's your own goal.
Right. No, they're not jabbing you too hard, but it is something that it comes after you've set up your goals, and then you get proactive outreach from some of the better systems that we've seen, right?
Yeah, and I think if you go look up and you talk to, if you look up Common Sense Lab Team at Duke University, you'll see a lot of the research that's been done in how engagement via technology and coaching has been combined to help change behavior. It is fascinating. It really is the Financial Wellness 2.0, which is what I think we ought to be looking at. When you look at this screen, you're seeing some of this, right? Here is an example of one of the vendors that is doing financial wellness, and what they generate is an action plan for people to go down. It's clearly a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step. Here's what you should be doing to complete. Here's the synopsis of what you need to learn, and here are some quizzes to make sure you're testing yourself on your knowledge capability. So these can be customized. They're action oriented to the employee group. So these are the kinds of things that we generally look for when you're talking about financial wellness.
Sure, right. It's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all solution. That's definitely important.
Sure.
And then it's also important to be able to track activity and monitor within certain reason, right? You don't obviously want the employees don't want their employers knowing everything about their personal financial life, but they also want to know that the product or the solution or the offering is being used, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of called the Financial Wellness 1.0 content-based websites where there's no way to measure it. There's no way to know. I mean, you could maybe count hits to the site, but what's the effectiveness of that, right? How do you measure the impact of financial wellness? And if it's just content-based, then more than likely, you're not going to be able to see the impact.
Well, and the hits go down.
There's
a big drop off, right? It's people are maybe enthused about it at the beginning. They go in, they look at it, they see a few things, and they say, okay, that's great. But again, what we said earlier, you could go to the library, you can go to Google, and you can get a lot of the same information. So it needs to be customized, it needs to be interactive, and it needs to be something that the employee, the person said they were interested in improving. Right? It has to be directed towards something that they are looking to improve, not what they're being told they should improve.
So kind of getting back to this slide, though, there is, like you said, there are two sides to financial wellness. There's the engagement by the employee, then there's the tracking and participation effect on the employer side. And different programs have different ways of looking at data, but I think everyone wants to know of some way to track the activity, to monitor the activity, not specific personal data, of course, but certainly the activity in terms of who's engaging at what levels and where are they engaging. And it gives you an opportunity from an employer side to know the employee group perhaps, or what the topics are that are most interesting to people, to help provide additional resources in those areas. It also kind of helps you, like anything else, you may want to start a campaign to help educate, because if you're seeing some fall off or drop off and you've got this great tool with coaching and everything else going on, you might have to supplement that with something to help get more people going in terms of what financial wellness is.
Right. One of the dashboards we saw, right, it had with no names, no personal data on there, but the employer was able to see what the financial goals were that the employees were setting for themselves. So if those things were to establish an emergency fund or to, save more for retirement, it gives them a little bit better idea of what they should be proactively talking to their employees about, to try to help them accomplish what they say they're trying to accomplish, not what we're telling them they should be trying to accomplish.
Right. So I think knowing at least getting feedback on how the program is doing from the employer side, the HR side is important. And there are different software programs that handle this in different ways, but you got to have some sort of tracking device. So So what have we established so far? Well, financial stress is real and costs you money. It costs companies money, time, and everything else. So I think everyone can nod their head and agree to that one. Also, I think we're beating a dead horse perhaps, but financial wellness solutions, there are a lot of choices. And on the other hand, that makes them customizable. So we can actually sit and talk through what it is you're looking from a financial wellness solution package and build it maybe to your specific group. So it is customizable. I think changing behavior is always the goal. I mean, in 401k planning, it's, let's change behavior in terms of how people address retirement. It's similar here. But I think with the technology built the way it's built, I think it's more scalable and less expensive and easier to help change behavior.
Right. We couldn't have done, companies couldn't have offered these solutions that are effective at changing behavior 10 years ago because the technologies didn't exist, right? I think that's part of the story here.
I agree. And of course, activity and progress must be measurable from both sides.
So what are the next steps here is obviously as an HR department, as a company, you need to define your financial wellness goals. What does it look like for your company specifically? And then talk about a budget, determine if you have one and what it is. If you'd like to contact us, we can help you complete a needs assessment for your company, which will discuss the unique situation that your company may be facing and how you might look at financial wellness offerings, and then we'll help you design a custom solution that would best work for your employees.